What's up, you guys? Okay, so huge update on what's going on right now in New Jersey in regards to legalized adult use marijuana. They had the vote on Monday. It was actually 2 votes. It was an Assembly committee and a Senate committee. It passed both of those votes, so there should be no problem with, on Monday, March 25th, 2019, it being the big final vote. So, for the big vote on Monday, if it passes through the Assembly and the Senate, then it goes to Governor Murphy's desk, and when he signs it into law, then that's it. We did it. We have it. Legalized adult use marijuana in New Jersey. Now, in regards to whether or not we have the votes, what I've been hearing recently is, in regards to the Assembly, we have the votes, and we are just 3 votes shy in the Senate. So please, please contact your representatives. And please don't neglect to contact any Assembly members just because we have the votes now. Because if a bunch of people contacted them who are against it, it might sway a vote. So please contact all your representatives. I did. Actually, I sent an email to every senator and every Assembly person. I know that they say that representatives most want to hear from people who are in their district, but what I was sending out is a lot of facts and statistics, especially because I've been hearing people saying things that make them appear to be very misinformed. So what I sent out in my email was pertinent to everybody. The other reason, too, why representatives should want to at least hear from everybody who they can is because people move all the time, and so anybody could be moving in and out of their district. So it would be prudent for them to hear everybody's opinion. So again, there's a link down below to find your representative, and there's also going to be a list of all the representatives. So again, feel free, aside from your representatives contacting any and all, especially if you are presenting facts and statistics. As for what I wrote to everybody, again, there's going to be a link down below. You can see what I wrote. Again, full explicit permission. If you want, you could take some of it, you could take all of it. You don't have to give me credit, you can give me credit, I don't care. Again, it's there for a guide. Also, depending on how long this video is and how long it takes if I read it out, I think I might just read you guys what I wrote just in case if people don't want to read through it and they just want to hear somebody read to them. So guys, we are so close right now. We really are. We are at the finish line. We just have to get it over the finish line. We're right there. And this can be done, and it can be done on Monday. This is what the people of New Jersey want, and it's inevitable anyway that New Jersey's going to have legalized marijuana and that the whole country is going to have it. It's just a question of when. And speaking of when, they're saying that if they don't get the votes on Monday, not only might they wait until this November 2019 to try again, I've also heard recently that they might wait until November of 2020 and then put it for a ballot question. So guys, please, the time is now. Contact your representatives. Let them know you want this. It doesn't have to be something long. It could be just a simple, you're a resident of New Jersey and you want this, you feel very strongly about it. That's all you have to do. Just something simple, because every little bit helps. Just one piece of advice, if you are going to do something like really short like that, just my own opinion, I think it would be better if you called for something, just doing something that short, instead of an email. I think it just might hold more weight. That's just my opinion. Obviously, if you don't feel comfortable calling or whatever, then you could put something super short in an email. Totally fine. Okay, so this is what I sent out to everybody. This is what everybody got. I'm in the New Jersey Medical Marijuana Program, and I fully and completely support 810. While there is no doubt that the program has been both life-changing and life-saving for many, we cannot ignore the fact that the program needs much improvement. This bill goes a long way in implementing necessary changes. While the current 2-ounce limit is enough for most on the program, others do need more. It lifts a great burden, allowing more than one caregiver. Also, the ability to have home delivery is such a necessity, I cannot stress it enough. There are many, many elderly and disabled people who would benefit enormously with the ability to have their medicine delivered. I fully and completely support the bill for expungement, A4497. I am a New Jersey resident who wants legalized adult use cannabis. I fully and completely support S2703. Cannabis, in parentheses marijuana, should be completely legal and regulated for adults 21 and over. It is a huge injustice arresting and prosecuting people for marijuana. This injustice in New Jersey is even larger for any minority community, especially African Americans. The discrepancy between the arrest rate of blacks and whites is utterly egregious and completely unethical. The only way to right this horrible wrong is to completely legalize and regulate adult use cannabis. Many people currently opposed to or on the fence about marijuana legalization have many concerns. I will try to address them now below. DUIs. Many people are concerned about DUIs. They fear that there is no marijuana breathalyzer, so no adequate way to know if somebody is under the influence while driving. There is a marijuana breathalyzer that is available to be purchased and used. It is from a company called Hound Labs. It detects in-breath THC when somebody is impaired. Using that product along with a field sobriety test will be able to accurately determine if somebody is under the influence and driving. The same way alcohol breathalyzers and field sobriety tests are currently in use for alcohol-related DUI testing. I read in the press about pushback from police departments because of reluctance to train DREs, drug recognition experts. I must address this issue. As of right now, there is an overabundance of illegal marijuana in New Jersey. A very, very small percent of users will drive stoned. The same amount that would drive stoned if legalized. Also, we in New Jersey are currently in the midst of a huge opiate heroin epidemic. Many opiate and heroin users drive under the influence of opiates and heroin. It is extremely dangerous, more dangerous than stone driving, and more dangerous even than drunk driving. I find it unconscionable that any police department is not currently staffing or having access to a DRE for this horrific epidemic. The same DRE would be used for heroin pills, cocaine, marijuana, and other drugs. Impact on opiate heroin epidemic. New Jersey is currently in the midst of a horrific opiate heroin epidemic, and many are worried legalized marijuana will worsen the epidemic. That is simply not true. Increased access to legal marijuana has been associated with reductions in some of the most troubling harms associated with opiates, including opiate overdoses and addiction. Legal access to medical marijuana has been associated with a 23% reduction in opiate addictions or abuse-related hospitalizations and 15% fewer opiate treatment admissions to rehab. It is hypothesized that these trends suggest a substitution effect. People with opioid use disorders or those who engage in risky illegal opioid use may have chosen to use legally accessible marijuana instead of illegally acquired opiates or other drugs. Many studies demonstrate that people who use medical marijuana find that it is a lower risk alternative to opiates and a much better choice overall. It has fewer harmful side effects while helping manage pain symptoms efficiently. The efficiency of marijuana for treating chronic pain is becoming increasingly recognized and established. Studies are finding that some patients stop using opiates completely through marijuana use, or supplement marijuana so that they can use fewer opiates, therefore reducing their risk of dependency, addiction, and overdose. A study of chronic pain patients found that using medical marijuana was ultimately associated with a 64% reduction in prescription opioid use among those surveyed. Another found a 44% reduction in prescription opioid use after using medical marijuana for chronic pain. Youth usage. Many people are concerned about underage marijuana usage. In every state that has legalized marijuana, underage use has either gone down or stayed the same. Youth usage in states with legalized cannabis are the same as states without legalized cannabis. In Washington, use by 10th and 12th graders is 17 and 26% respectively. That is similar to and slightly less than the national averages for 10th and 12th graders, 20 and 26% respectively. Recent use for 8th graders has fallen to 6%, a 50% decline since 2000. In Colorado, results from Healthy Kids Colorado survey from 2001 and 2015 suggest that the rate of past 30-day marijuana use by high school students is 21.2%. It has been on a steady decline since 2001 at 30.2%. Recent use among 9th and 10th graders in Colorado has been virtually unchanged since 2011, and the number of 9th graders in 2015 who reported use is less than half the rate in 2001. In regards to recent use of marijuana among 11th and 12th graders in Colorado, it might have increased slightly since 2012, but the rates are still lower than peak rates in years prior to marijuana legalization. In addition, secondary analysis of Colorado youth data demonstrate that these changes are not statistically significant and that the opening of adult-use marijuana stores has not had an impact on perceived ease of access to marijuana, as has been previously hypothesized. The Alaska Youth Risk Behavior Surveys from 2003 to 2017 showed that the past 30-day use rate of marijuana by high school students in the state has remained relatively stable at 21.5% since 2010 and is comparable to the national high school rate. For a number of years prior to legalization, youth recent marijuana use rates in Oregon, Massachusetts, and Washington, D.C. were different compared to national trends, with both Massachusetts and Washington, D.C. having historically higher rates. Oregon had lower rates. As a result, rates of youth marijuana use in these states cannot be attributed to a specific policy change, i.e. legalization. An example, the 2015 rates of 30-day marijuana use by high school students in Washington, D.C. was significantly higher than the national average at 32.2%, but these rates have been high for some time. Meanwhile, Oregon has the lowest rates of use among surveyed students, 8.8% among 8th graders and 19.1% among 11th graders in 2015. However, it is important to note that even if those states are outliers in terms of statistics, they also have experienced a drop in youth usage, both in Oregon and Massachusetts. Of the most recent states to legalize marijuana, teen marijuana use rates appear to be consistent with national averages in California, Maine, and Nevada. California's youth use has stayed roughly the same. Maine has seen a drop in use. Nevada has seen a very large drop since 2001, an almost 50% drop among 12th graders, and has seen a decline among youth use as well. Overuse of marijuana and subsequent ill effects. People are worried about the amount of poison control calls and or visits to the ER in regards to overconsumption of marijuana. Data shows that after marijuana legalization, calls to poison control centers for marijuana remain extremely uncommon compared to calls about other more common household products and substances. While marijuana-related calls to poison control centers in states that legalize marijuana are higher now than in pre-legalization years, the number of calls related to marijuana make up only a tiny percent of the total calls and are dramatically lower than calls for items such as prescription drugs, household cleaning products, and toiletries, deodorant, toothpaste, etc. Data on the number of calls to poison call centers regarding marijuana exposures are only available in Colorado, Oregon, and Washington. In Oregon, for example, less than 0.1% of the calls to the state poison control in 2016 were related to marijuana. The Oregon Poison Center noted a decrease in the number of marijuana calls to its center in the second half of 2016, a sign of stability after a short period of adjustment. The state of Washington experienced an increase in calls to its poison control center post-legalization for marijuana. Yet these marijuana-related calls only accounted for 286 of 62,502 calls in 2016. According to Rocky Mountain Poison Center, in 2016, there were 224 calls to poison centers regarding marijuana in Colorado, compared to 41,137 total calls for the year. In Colorado, the number of ER visits for marijuana exposure increased from a rate of 22 per 100,000 people in 2012 to 38 per 100,000 people in the first half of 2014, when retail sales of marijuana began. The ER visits for marijuana in 2014 only accounted for less than 0.1% of the state's annual ER visits. There was an exceedingly small amount of poison control center calls and ER visits in comparison to how many people consume cannabis, show just how non-dangerous cannabis is. Taxes. In terms of taxes, many people are misinformed that tax revenue has been low. However, states have far surpassed their estimated revenue. The projected revenue for Oregon was $31 million. In the fiscal year of 2016 to 2017, the revenue was $70.3 million. In just 3 months, July of 2017 to September of 2017, the revenue was $18.1 million. The projected revenue for Colorado was $70 million. In 2016, the revenue was $193.6 million. From January to October 2017, the revenue was $205.1 million. The projected revenue for Washington was $162 million. In the 2016 to 2017 fiscal year, the revenue was $314.8 million. In just 3 months of July 2017 to September 2017, the revenue was $91.2 million. New Jersey would easily stand to have a total revenue of over $500 million, I hypothesize, due to our population and proximity to New York City. Also, if no other states around us have legalized marijuana, we would get even more revenue due to residents from neighboring states coming to partake in legalized cannabis. In conclusion, I will reiterate my full and complete support for expanding the medical marijuana program, expungements, and adult-use cannabis. The time to change is now. Let's be on the right side of history. Let's make history. Please do the right thing. Thank you. And then I also let them know that they could contact me, whether it be through email, phone, whatever. So yeah, so that's what I sent out to everybody. So every person who will be voting on these bills has a copy of this, and they have all these facts in front of them. And let's see what they do with those facts. Okay, well, I hope you guys have an awesome day. Peace.